Welcome to a brand new Five Heart podcast live on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. I'm your host, Greg Mahashko, and boy, howdy, do we have a full house for you tonight. Let's just do this in, at least to me, and hopefully to you as well, clockwise order. So over here to my left and your right, probably, our founder, our fearless leader, Mr. John Dam Johnston. John, say hello to the nice people.
Hi.
Below John, you'll see the newest regular to the Five Heart Show, a panelist member, Minnie Hunt. Hello, Minnie.
Hello.
And making his triumphant return. It is always a pleasure, and I'm so excited to sit down with him week in and week out here for the next 3 months. It's good to see you, my friend, Hoss Reuter.
Good to be back. Surprised you guys welcomed me back.
By popular demand. And Fred was the first to greet you, Hoss. It's 7:48 Central. And he said, Dion's still got summer toes. Some are here, some are there.
We got more people on this in this podcast right now, us four, than Dion has toes on one foot.
Oh, wow.
That's
wow.
Justin at 822 was the second to welcome you, Hoss, and says, ask this question to Fred. Do you think Dion didn't go to a coastal team because he can't wear sandals at the beach?
Oh, that's bad.
Wow, we are coming out firing, aren't we? Boom.
Guys.
Hey, this is a little bit more innocuous than the old Sal is dead, go big red. So
yeah, that's true.
Speaking of, while we're highlighting a Justin comment, let's highlight another one. Justin is disappointed we didn't get a John bathroom video after baseball last night.
Oh, we've lost some midweek games. I know that one was bad, and you know what? We're going to be a tournament team. Things will be fine down the road. Probably not as good as everybody wants it to be, but a hell of a lot better than it was last year. There you go.
Aaron Keene also here tonight. We have two Aarons, Hoss, two regular Aarons. We have Aaron Rostovsky, our Coronation contributor, baseball beat writer, and Aaron Keene, who has been promoted. He was Aaron number 2, and then through his wisdom and wit, he became Aaron 1.5. And I know everybody appreciates this recap of the Chatterfields, but recently he's been promoted. So now we just have 2 Aaron number 1s, and it's not confusing at all.
I say we just call them by their last names.
Yeah, well, that's because I finally told you how to pronounce Aaron's Keene's last name properly. So
Keene. It's Keene.
I think people need like monosyllabic things you can scream at them.
Okay.
Okay.
That's one syllable for the.
I think I would just like to yell, Rostovsky, get your butt over here right now.
Wow. You would like to. You just seem like you're built for this.
Well, we're not allowed to call her the name that name. But anyway, Paul Dalen is in the house saying it's been a while. Hello, Corners. Hey, good to see you again, Paul. Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart podcast, is back. We missed you last week, David. And still waiting on that Living in Omaha David Matney can coolie so that I can use it to wrap around the unofficial beer of the Five Heart podcast. Let me get my trusty 3-can coolie out here, 3-can cooler, Roger Moore. It is, as it has been, the Yingling.
Yingling.
Hoss, you'll be so, I don't know if you'll be happy. I came across apparently Coors Banquet's wrapping themselves in a new can that I think you might dig.
I've seen that. Unfortunately, since it's not a weekend night and I'm in the process of cutting weight for lifting, I just have some high quality H2O.
H2O.
High quality.
My emotional support water bottle. It's been through the wash.
I'm also trying to cut weight. We're not going to rehash all that. But what I have done is I've stopped eating after 8 o'clock at night.
That's a good choice.
But what I have not done is on Thursday nights stop drinking after 8 o'clock at night. So this is my.
These are both very good choices by you.
I'm trying, John. I'm also cutting back on my carbs. and it's showing.
Are you upping that protein a gram per pound of body weight?
Oh God,
I didn't know about that
Ooh.
rule.
Oh yeah,
That's intense. That's
it's a lot of protein.
I feel like
It
that
is a lot
would
of
be
Gary's Quick Steak out of Lincoln, Nebraska, for all your protein needs.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you give me his contact info. We'll make him an official sponsor.
It's some good stuff.
What's the name again? I was talking over you.
Quick Steak.
Gary's Quick Steak.
Yeah, it's at Costco.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what? Do you live like 140 miles away from your nearest Costco down there in southwestern Illinois?
No, not 140, but probably a good 40-minute drive. Got to go on the other side of St. Louis for a Costco. Why are we this?
I don't know.
There's a format we have to follow. Did you know that, Hoss?
I miss the days of when it was just Greg and I shooting from the hip, and now you guys are organized. You guys went legitimate in my absence.
Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast, says, I see many celebrating Dylan's birthday. Yeah.
She hasn't bothered to start singing yet.
Yeah, what the hell?
Are you going to sing?
Well, I'm letting you guys get through your niceties.
Oh, because I thought it'd be like, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. We got you a stalker. Happy birthday to
Hmm.
Roger says everyone is wearing great shirts tonight. And
Thanks,
we were talking about that just before we roll the sound. And I don't know if this is a trademarked word, but we can call ourselves the Black Shirts tonight, right?
We can.
Probably won't get in any legal trouble for that.
Yeah, let's all just be old. We'll all assign ourselves as an old deposed former defensive coordinator. John is Bob Diaco. Minnie can be Bo Pelini. Greg
Carl
is,
Pelini.
Greg
Carl
is
Pelini.
Mark Banker.
Oh, man.
I'll be Craig.
wow.
Well, you'll be Craig Bull. Yeah, should have seen that one coming.
That's the least. He was a good head coach at Wyoming. He was probably the worst out of that list, except for Cosgrove.
I was going to try to name myself Carl Pelini, but you decided that was not going to happen.
Do you have some extracurriculars?
This is it. This is my extracurricular.
Fair enough.
All right. Josh Hansen is here. He's excited. I don't know why. He's out of cigars. But speaking of one syllable, Josh was quick to point out, John, that shit asses is not one syllable.
It's an exception rule word. An exception word. You can yell shit ass. See, that's just kind of like all smashed together.
It rolls off the tongue.
Shit ass is extremely easy to yell at people.
John, what's your favorite insult to call somebody?
Oh, wow. That really, you have to mix it up. I mean, it really depends on the situation.
Like Minnesota just converted a critical 3rd and 3 against us. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Fucking Iwegians.
All right.
If there's kids around, I normally say something like shit baskets. I would go, shit baskets. That's pretty much it. Shit still, it's not too far out there. You're
not getting into the F-bomb varieties. Yeah.
You know what? I had my sister. I went to the spring game, stayed with my sister. She gets angry all the time if I use the F word. And this last time I went down to the spring game was probably one of the only times of which me and her husband could sit around and say, it's just part of the language, married. It's just how things go. Today's shit is yesterday's fuck, or today. Yeah. What everybody used to say shit all the time. Now they just say fuck all the time. It's just part of the language. In fact, my wife, who does she does like a daycare thing. She came home today and she said, it was a really poopy mouth day today. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, this is like this 4-year-old girl couldn't find her water bottle and she found it on the table. And she said, who the fuck put my water bottle on the table? And I thought, that is very advanced for a 4-year-old to actually string that together. You know what I mean?
Textually too.
It's really exceptional. I was like,
what I'm about to say, John, is going to make you so happy.
What? Okay.
You know how I've being the fact that I have young children, I try to watch what I say, and you always say, if you don't teach them. They're going to learn from somewhere. I'll teach them all the bad words. So you got to go back to last year, sometime in 2023, when the twins were 2. They were 2 and they were at daycare. And my wife got a message from the daycare saying, Rob said a bad word. He said the F word. What context? Because he struggles with this TR sound. So if he says truck, it's going to sound like fuck. Yeah. Apparently the context was like one of the teachers was holding Matt, the other twin, and kind of like tickling his belly a little bit. And Rob storms over with all that confidence of a 2-year-old, say, "Don't touch my fucking brother."
Wow. It just fits right in there.
And I was like, I'm trying to figure out where he learned that. I think I know where he learned that.
Yeah.
You, Greg.
Greg.
You don't point the finger, you point the thumb.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had the conversation after the fact.
We need to
we determined it was
back.
Not me.
We need to bring that phrase back, by the way.
The Bo Pelini?
Yes,
we do.
We need. Yes. Okay.
Well, let's get caught up real quick here. Angela Matney in the house tonight. Also glad to see Hoss back. See, people are here for Hoss. And I can't remember the relation between Angela and David. Apologies.
They both have the same last name.
Yeah. Okay. But
coincidence?
John, thanks for that, Captain Obvious. Justin says same Hoss, lemon flavored H2O. Roger Moore says polar bear cut weight. Fred says don't worry, Greg drinks because of Minnie. I mean, what? I might.
That's true, Minnie. He never drank this much when he was just with me.
Yes, he did. I watched the show.
No,
yes,
Greg, look, sauced.
Because it's the 4 of us, and I know approximately how long this show is going to last. I have 3 beers in the cooler. Just want you to know.
Okay.
And I have more in the box behind me, but I'm not going to do that because they're not cold. I wouldn't do that to myself. All right, that's a good question for the end of the conversation. All right, we gotta have to start our show eventually.
Yeah.
Scott says, "Holy shite, John is back tonight."
Yeah.
John Damn Johnson.
Josh says John and Hoss both on the same show. No one even knows how to act. See,
that's because we haven't got the football stuff yet.
I miss those shows too. Always learn something with you, Hoss. So I do have this question, and I'm going to scroll. I'm going to stop looking at the comments for a minute. I just want everyone watching this to honest feedback. How many of you were listening to the show in its original version when it was just a podcast? How many of you are here just because of John's wildly successful coordination YouTube channel? And how many of you are OGs who listened to the show back when it was me and Hoss, maybe me and Brian, me, Hoss, and John?
Talking about Nebraska, Minnesota 2017.
Oh.
The low
okay, I'll answer. I'm here because of John. I remember discovering John, and I think I watched him prior to his bathroom video, and I used to call him the cranky old man.
Not a whole lot's changed.
I loved hearing his takes on our losses, mainly. So I would listen to him after the game, and I just got hooked. And then one day my husband goes, Did you hear about some YouTuber getting in trouble for doing a bathroom video? I'm like, wait, what?
John, did you get in trouble for that?
I don't think so. Not really. What's trouble, really?
It was entertainment. That's what started it all.
We have an answer to the long held question. Angela Matney is the wife of the official realtor. Now, full disclosure, not of Corn Nation. He hasn't paid that much, but he is the official realtor of the 5 Heart podcast. And also does David Matney did confirm also lives in Omaha. Sorry. Fred is here. Showed up after John lost his shit on the field in Minnesota.
Oh, that game.
Yeah.
Roger's here because of John.
In the past, it's in the past, Hoss. It can't hurt you anymore.
That's right.
That was my first trip to Minnesota ever, John.
Oh.
But
It was
there'll
the
be
first time I
more
was
and
ever in
there'll
your
be
fair
wins.
state.
There'll
I
be
don't know
wins.
if there will be. Wasn't the biggest fan.
Roger's here because of John the Man worth showing up for. That's sweet. Josh has been here since before Five Heart had a Jittery Monkey logo and voted on it. That is
Ooh.
OG. That's back to like
That predates me.
2014, something like that. Justin says, since 2021, unfortunately, didn't know you till you did the live show. Vince says, don't do podcast, just YouTube. Fred says, prior to John's Minnesota meltdown, I only knew of John by seeing his name scrawled in random bathrooms.
Flying J and Pilot Truck Stop, Long Island.
You got to market. You got to market.
Owen says, I'm here for John because his rant after the 2021 Illinois game, and before that, he was sitting at his favorite tree.
You know, that game was actually the origination of There Is No Hope, Fuck Everything. Because in that game, you could clearly see that our coach didn't even fucking prepare for the game.
That was the game
He did not do a damn thing. They sold out against the run the entire game. He didn't have one misdirection play that he called. He did not a fucking thing. And then I watched that and I thought, what's the point of this anymore? And then, it took like a whole nother year, and I got a lot of shit from people for
that was the game that I remember Frost and Lubick said, they came out in an odd front. It shouldn't fucking matter. You have blocking rules. You run inside, outside zone. You adjust to it on the fly. That was the sign that they were just the couple of biggest frauds that we could have gotten here.
That was the season opener, right?
Yeah, and that was what I posted on Facebook. That's what happened when you hire a charlatan. And Greg, as I recall, you got kind of mad at me on my Facebook status.
I don't remember exact phrases. You have the much better memory than me. I do remember. I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt, but I'm like, that's good.
You were wearing your
good.
Frost warning T-shirt.
My what?
Your Frost warning T-shirt.
I'll tell you what. When I knew, it's not that I didn't agree with you. It's just that like you're giving away content for free. No, but that was also the game. If I remember correctly, the first drive was the swinging gate pass that got fumbled right and scooped up by Illinois. Wasn't that
that was the year before. That was the year before the COVID year.
I appreciate
that was another complete fuck up in an earlier game.
There's a conversation that needs to be had that 2020 Nebraska team might be the worst team Nebraska's ever fielded in the modern era.
We beat Bethune-Cookman, man. Come on.
No, 2020, man. The COVID year. We only played Big Ten schedule.
Oh, that's right. Bethune-Cookman was.
We beat Penn State.
A Penn State team that kind of folded.
We lost to Minnesota after they didn't show up with 30 players and missing 5 players off their offensive line or defensive combination of starters off their offense. We don't have to do this. We don't have to go into the past.
All right, let's do
I remember right. Illinois. He
Raiola's birthday that Minnie's celebrating over there.
All right, let's hit a couple more of these. Where or when did you find us? Paul Dalen says, met John back when we still won 9 games every year. That feels like a lifetime.
4-1 out.
Scott Schrader says, I wasn't such a YouTube degenerate until this year, so y'all new to me. That's fair.
Welcome.
Let's see. Angela Matney says, I've been listening to you since 2020. I also used to work at the same store with Aaron R. or Aaron Rostovsky.
Rostovsky.
We apologize to you on behalf of everyone at Coordination for creating a very distracted fellow employee. David, I'm sorry, let me get this right. Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast, says he's here for John. Let's see. Anthony Matney, holy crap. I happen to be the child of the official realtor of Coordination. Again, official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast. He's going to have to drop some serious coin to become the official realtor of Coordination. Mr. Matthew also seeing the John Tree video. And Frost warning T-shirt. No. Aaron touches my pills. Jason Reeves says Aaron touches my pills, and I'm not sure.
Mention that one.
Dana Williams from Facebook says, I had friends on Shram 4, so I heard of John then.
All right. I was on Shram 6.
Fred's back with a serious
The guys
question.
on Shram 4 knew us pretty well.
Is
All right.
Dylan legal now?
He's been legal, you guys.
All right, so here's what I'm learning. Everybody's here for John, except for Josh, who was guilted in. What?
They started with Hoss. They were here for Hoss.
No, but they found the show
Oh, okay.
from you.
Yeah.
From all you.
John, you're
with the exception
you're
of Josh.
the bearer of this thing.
I'll accept it.
Fred Sacco says, God, we have almost as many Matneys as Raiolas now. What's next for Cottons? All right. Let's begin the show, shall we?
Yay.
Let's do it.
All right.
21 minutes in, Greg.
That's fine.
We only get John for an hour and a half. Come on.
Yeah, he's
No,
already
it's
yelling.
okay. I feel pretty good tonight.
It's special tonight. I mean, Hoss is here. We're going to
Hoss is
celebrate a
here.
birthday.
It's a party.
This is what the note says. I'm going to read this to you all verbatim. All right. Our 5 heart highlights week of May 9, 2024. Article 2. Happy birthday, Dylan! ! Our number 15 is 19 today, and it's his first B-Day as a Husker.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
true.
Yeah, it's true.
It's his first birthday as an official Husker. Last year at this time, he was not a Husker.
Yeah.
So think of how things have changed in 1 year.
1 year.
And guess what, guys? There's so much excitement to come. I call it the Raiola effect. Jazz hands.
Well, I'm for that. Okay.
I just want to say quick shout outs. Thank you, Paul. Paul's here for me.
Oh.
Appreciate that. Angela Matney's
Yeah.
also here for Hoss and Greg. Sorry, Minnie.
There you go. See.
I kind of feel left out in this whole thing. People are here for
In all fairness, you
Greg,
have we have established that outside of people who wear number 15, you have usually in the Chatterfields there's more than one, I'll say, admirer. I tend not to, for decency purposes, I tend not to highlight those comments, but they're there. You can go back and see them if you want to. And I've got to tell you something off air that's going to turn your hair white. So it was a weird week in the custom art for the show contribution section, hooch3600@gmail.com if you want to make those contributions. Let's just say I had to put a strong veto down on an image. Anyway, it was bad. All right, so happy birthday, Dylan. You're 19.
People are creative. You got to, art comes in all forms.
I can. We'll talk about it off air. It'll be a post-production meeting. All right. So Dylan's 19. He wears number 15. He's gonna win us 16, and this season alone. And that's all I could. Can we move on to Article 3 now? Real stuff?
Yes.
Okay. We can.
I don't know if this is real stuff. I mean, I think they announced this last week, and we didn't address it then. But the home team's going to be on the opposite sideline going forward.
Fucking finally.
Yeah.
Finally. Needed to happen a long time ago.
So, obviously, Hoss, you have a strong opinion about this.
Yep. Well, our signals have gotten stolen how many times from the coaches in the press, the opposing coaches in the press box? I mean, that line of sight right down to the east sideline. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then early in the season, we're baking in, 90-degree temperatures. I saw what Harbaugh said to Trev Alberts last year after the Nebraska-Michigan game, that it was probably 40 degrees cooler in the shade than it was out on the field or on Nebraska's sideline. And I think it's just BS that we stood on the east sideline for that long and really, in the past 20 years gave ourselves a competitive disadvantage at home.
I'm curious to know these notes, which are tremendous, and I totally read them all before just now. Season ticket holders got the email. They'll have the ability to switch. So I'm assuming that meant that if you were 5 rows behind the home team previously, you're going to be able to still be 5 yards behind or 5 rows behind the home team. You'll just look into the sun or so look with the sun instead of into the sun.
Except if you have tickets on the west side already, then it's not going to affect you.
Okay.
So you get to keep those, which is amazing. Because if you pre-purchase tickets, like some people might have done, you get a great deal.
Is that you that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Did you spend a king's ransom on Colorado tickets, Minnie?
I spend enough, but now it doesn't even matter because it's like I got my value.
It'll be that much closer.
Yep.
Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart podcast, says, what was the purpose in the first place of putting them on the east side?
I always heard it explained as sunlight in November when games are cold.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
On the east,
Cold is
they've been on
cold.
the
Like,
east side.
if it's cold and windy in November, ambient sunlight really isn't going to.
I heard there's more room on the east side. So like especially in the 90s, we had, a large amount of people on the sidelines.
But like the decision to be on the east goes back clear to the 60s.
Right.
So
Okay,
like,
here's
that was
the real
initial decision.
Here's the real reason for this, is because all these people bought season tickets, and they are all of the people that have run our athletic department have been so fucking afraid to change anything in the stadium because people just shit themselves over it. It's like you get a new pastor and he changes his service around. People just like, God. That's the real reason, is because nobody would just go, wow, we're going to make this simple change. They just never did it.
Well, for far too long, people have been too concerned with our traditions instead of the one thing that actually matters: winning football games.
Right.
Thank you, Hoss.
Like that. That's one of the things that I've always said. It's like our traditions were great because we won games,
Right.
not the other way around. So it's like let's just win some games. I was gonna drop another F-bomb for effect there, but trying to take John's approach.
There's a number of comments that I'm going to hit here in rapid succession that all focus on a similar side effect of this change. Aaron Keene says, which sideline is easier to stalk on? Asking for a panelist. Fred Sacco says, Minnie sold her husband and her favorite Stanley Cup to get these tickets. And Josh says, this is it. Minnie's now 4 rows away from the chain gang.
Yes.
Vince Watson says, hopefully it'll be still far enough away to not be against the restraining order.
Oh my gosh, you guys. One comment's enough.
Restrain the order.
Yeah, what did you say? Restore the order?
Instead of restore the order, restrain the order.
Not you too, Hoss. Jeez.
Yeah.
So I think as important as that is, and I don't know in the grand scheme how important. Yes, there's the competitive advantage. I think we talked about the ability to be in the shade on hotter days, to not have the cameras looking. But I'm really interested to see if this athletic director will finally have the balls to relocate the student section to a more effective area.
It should happen.
And I don't think it's going to happen this offseason.
They're in a spot of prominence in every other conference.
Yep.
Or every
They
other
need to
stadium
be.
in the conference.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's
Right.
that.
Well, one other thing. This comes a year, almost to the day, that Matt Rhule in a press conference had said that he would like to see it flip to the other side. So, good job, new AD.
All it takes is a change in the administration and a little bit of patience. This is just a real quick because we talked quite a bit. We've had a lot of fun. It took 21 minutes and 36 seconds, not that anybody was counting, to actually begin the show. But just want to, as a friendly reminder to all of you who are perhaps watching on YouTube, or maybe if you are, when you're done watching on X or on Facebook, head over to YouTube. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications so you know every time we set up a stream, not just for the 5 Heart Podcast, but for Monday Night Therapy or John's new show that's going to be, more interview-based. I know you had Matt Brown on there recently. Husker Heat, any of John's new content, hopefully not in the bathroom, hopefully out somewhere peaceful, celebrating under a tree again. And for the hardcore football history videos as well. So we're, again, trying to, with a lot of your help, we're still trying to build up our YouTube presence and make John more money that he can therefore hoard all to himself. Yeah. He's got bills to pay too.
I do. The bill for this streaming service is coming up at the end of the month, for God's sakes.
That's not
okay.
That's right. Aaron says we stick to the strictly timed format here in the Cornreich.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So let's move on then to, we put a pin in the spring game recap last week. We talked about some baseball and some basketball, and we talked a little bit about the spring game. We put a pin in it. Hoss was going to join us. Hoss was out sick. Hoss, I did not disclose the nature of your illness.
Yeah.
Third time.
Due to HIPAA rules.
20, 21, and 24 now.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Because
Man, I
you're
don't think I've ever had this. You maybe you should start taking the drugs I take. We'll talk later.
Don't ever change, John.
All right, so we are here to we're going to start.
Well,
yes.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. So Article 5 is your overall reaction to the spring game. Article 6 is the talking points, Hoss, that you provided to us. So what was your overall reaction to the spring game?
Obviously try not to drink the Kool-Aid because it's a fool's game in the spring. But there's enough that was on the field, on tape, whatever expression you want to use, from the spring game that shows that this is an improved team from last year. I think the strength and conditioning took another step forward this year. I think that our offensive line really actually looks like most Big Ten offensive lines do. And I think that's something that I don't know. Maybe you would have to go back to 2012 to see an offensive line built like this at Nebraska. Other than that, I mean, I'm not going to go, I don't want to bury the lead too much on Dylan Raiola. So, but at the same time, running game, everything, was kind of hard to evaluate just because it's top line guys against backups. But I like the functional movement and athleticism of the offensive line.
Before we get into some of these specifics, what did you think just about the format? I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I like the fact that the quarterbacks kind of rotated around, so you didn't see them with the same red or white squad the entire time. You got a little bit of a rotation there.
I thought they functioned well. I mean, again, I know I'm kind of paying attention to the comments as well here, Greg, but at the same time, even though they're against backups, even though it's a pretty vanilla defense that they're facing, you're kind of going up against just real basic fronts. They looked like, to quote Frank Solich, they were moving around well.
First question here we have comes to us from Chatterfield. Scott says, who is our strength and conditioning coach? I never hear his name mentioned.
Corey Campbell.
Yeah. I remember his hiring. The image, I think, from when he was a Baylor that was used to help introduce or announce his hiring. And he just looks like a jacked motherfucker.
Yeah, he's jacked.
He's tough. He's the one who leads the team out onto the field for every game.
You know what? I like the fact that Rhule does that.
I do too.
Strength coach probably has more of an impact than just about any other coach on the staff.
Fred says, damn you, Hoss, nobody buries Dylan Raiola. Many go spit in Hoss's A1 greens.
Caged organic greens.
Yeah. Did you bury Dylan Raiola?
I did. I have notes, as you can see.
Didn't bury him. Just
What?
we're like not bury the lead. You know, like we'll get there. I think so.
Get to the notes.
All
Okay,
right.
here we go. Here we go.
Do you want me just to give my overall thoughts
Yeah.
on the spring
Yeah.
game in general?
Yes,
what I
that's
think
what we
it
want.
means moving forward before we get into specifics?
Yes.
Yes.
We're breaking format now. I'm not.
Greg, I'm only listening to. I only recognize one true king of song.
Good job. Good job, Hoss.
You're talking to me,
Well,
right?
somebody's here for
Greg,
me.
we go way back.
I'm gonna mute myself so I am not interrupting you.
Are you? What are you doing, John?
John, you look like you're miming an Adolf Hitler speech.
John, will you come back, please?
Yeah, John, we like hearing your voice.
Greg did this before, and I didn't like that either.
I didn't do it.
Get to the
Yeah,
notes.
you did.
All right.
Oh.
Okay. Article 6, Section 1, talking points for Hoss. Offensive concepts / identity with Raiola as QB1.
Oh man,
He was just
I
gonna
got
go over
flipped
his
through my
notes.
notes. Hold on a second here. I'm trying to think where we should start here.
You start wherever you want. These
That's
are the
right.
notes that I was given. So this is your part here. Talk about whatever you like.
All right, where are we?
Oh my God.
I
Sorry.
didn't
No,
mute
I
John.
will say
I had a lot of notes.
I will say one thing. It confused the heck out of me. The fact that, okay, I think they tried to kind of mimic the spring league because they had 3 quarterbacks alternating with the red and white. And then they would change out the offensive line. So it was absolutely bananas on the field. Like you couldn't figure out who was who. I mean, it was. I had to watch it like 7 times. And then I realized about the 3rd or 4th time
You weren't watching the
Cut
Nebraska
out.
game.
they,
Watch
they
Maryland.
cut out 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. We went from 7-0 to 14-14. Like
Thanks
that.
a lot, Kevin Warren. Even though you're gone, you're with the Chicago Bears now.
Frustrating. Go
All
ahead.
right, I found my spot. Minnie, thank you for filling the air while I was searching through my notes. Basically, I want to start off with this about the concepts. I don't think we're going to see any wholesale differences in terms of offensive scheme. We didn't run anything in the spring game that we didn't run last year. You're not going to see the quarterback run game that we saw with Jeff Sims and Heinrich Harburg. What you're going to see is it's very much more of an NFL style of offense. And, one of the things I know I mentioned to you, Greg, was, not using NFL or pro style as a pejorative, because around here, West Coast offense is still something that people bristle up at. But in the modern NFL game, it's really, about matchups and putting athletes in space and, manipulating the safeties outside of the middle of the field. And so really the best comparison that I can kind of take what we ran in the spring game and line it up with, an offense that maybe everybody else has seen is, and I know that people are going to think that I'm being way too hyperbolic here, but the 2018 Kansas City Chiefs offense. That's what a lot of the schemes, a lot of the concept look like, especially, RPOs, trips, formations, really having an emphasis on pass protections on the offensive line. And the running game, I think we're still going to have a strong running game, especially if it's a Matt Rhule coached football team. It's always going to be something. It's always going to be a team that tries to win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. Goes back to his principles of run the ball, stop the run, protect and affect the passer on both sides, But what you're going to see is I think you're going to see an economy of run game concepts, probably inside zone, duo, wide zone. And then really, I think most of our offense is going to be built off those core run plays. And it's going to be a lot of play action off those runs. and really just trying to get the ball to receivers on screens and RPOs. So it really is, you know, kind of that modern NFL spread offense that you see, you know, kind of permeating across the league on Sundays.
Tell us about the screens, Hoss.
John, you love you some screens.
I
Love
do.
screens almost as much as Minnie loves Dylan Raiola.
No,
Almost.
no,
Almost.
maybe like 50%.
A lot of it's, you know, we ran a few screens, especially there's that first screen on the first play of the game. I think it was to Dowdle. Dowdell. Do we have a pronunciation on that yet?
I think it's Dowdle.
Dowdle. Little check screen.
No, go with the opposite of what John says.
Doddle. We'll go with Doddle.
Don't go with his pronunciation.
Wow.
Dawdling down the road.
But
Just
no, we
remember this, Minnie. John gave you
trip.
5 heart life, and John can take your 5 heart life away.
I know, but let's just, John, even you
Okay.
know you have your own pronunciation for things.
I do.
It's that Dorothy Lynch culture.
I do. That's true.
Out in Sutherland, Nebraska. Where is it that you
Back
hail
to the
from?
screens.
Back to the screens. Thank you, John. It's like the Bryant Gumbel. Let's move on. First play of the game, we run a little out of trips, a little Y stick concept to the field, and then a check screen to Dowdle back to the boundary. And a lot of that is kind of gets back to controlling the safeties, keeping them out of the middle of the field, kind of with split flow concepts. You have 2 different concepts going on each side of the formation. And so if we can do that, you're going to see the offense be, I'm not going to say it's, you know, the greatest show on turf, but you're going to see an offense that's actually, you know, an offense that'll win football games, not averaging 18 points per game like last year. And so if we can force teams to base out of nickel and really, you know, I know I'm going to pay for this in the comments, but, you know, force the defense to play lighter boxes, you're going to see us kind of have a pretty good run game out of 10 and 11 first. You know.
I see where the comments are going to go. I like Fred here. Check screen. How diverse. That's good.
Yep. Wilbur, Nebraska. They love the check screen.
You know,
But yeah,
I
you know,
thought
so
that's true. Yeah.
one of the things, like if we're going to be going up against light boxes,
Oh my God.
I was a sophomore in high school, evidently. At 32
Yes,
years old.
exactly.
With guys like Mazuka on the offensive line, Ben Scott, and then Dowdle and Irvin in the backfield, I think you're going to see kind of, you know, a run game that's going to be able to get yards in between the tackles against lighter personnel in nickel defenses. I think that, you know, like I said earlier, the emphasis will be more on pass protections than run plays, you know, in terms of the offensive line, hence that economy of run concepts. I think that they're really going to look to have answers in pass protection for anything a defense might try to throw at us. Because, I mean, let's just all face the elephant in the room. It's going to be Dylan Raiola as the starter. I mean, there's no way in hell it's anyone else. It's
Right.
going to be him. And I think that he could have a pretty sizable effect on this offense. That's
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Oh,
I think-
what now, Baron von Gregg?
I think we saw a tremendous amount of improvement in Heinrich Harburg.
That version of Heinrich Harburg wins us 2 more football games last year.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I'm thinking Michigan State and Maryland.
If you look
Okay.
at the overall total of the spring game, though, Dylan Raiola got us 3 touchdowns, Heinrich Harburg got us 2, and Danny Kalen got us 1.
That's the pecking order.
You know what?
There you go.
Okay, who's getting paid more nil, Dylan Raiola or Heinrich Harburg?
Oh, Dylan Raiola.
Well, there's your starter.
Yep, there. Yeah.
You didn't
But
pay
here's
him.
the thing.
He's paying
The prediction that I have. I do think Heinrich Harburg is going to come in a tight spot for us this year and win us a football game.
Mhm.
Will they
I
have
really.
packages?
Oh, I think we'll use him similar to like how the Saints use Taysom Hill.
Okay. I would like that.
I don't know what that is.
That means you have special plays. You bring in another quarterback and they run just basically plays that are for them in an offensive set.
That's what we need.
that is-
That's
Yeah.
that's what
Short
we need
yardage
to
is
do
best.
with him. Because he's a tremendous athlete. It would be a shame not to utilize that.
Minnesota did this a lot with Cole Kramer.
Oh,
and
God,
he beat us. Yeah, and he beat us. That's where they ran their misdirection plays. Remember the long pass play? Remember the play in 2021? Remember that play? Remember that play, Hoss?
Yeah, John, I was there.
He's never going to throw Cole
Drinking
Kramer.
an overpriced grain belt in that stadium. Paid $13 for a grain belt. How do you think I felt, John?
Okay. So there'll be no 2 tight end sets, or very few.
No, I think you're going to see us a lot with a tight end and an H-back. You're going to see some 12 personnel.
It seems like we have a lot of tight ends. Like, that is our stacked room.
And continuing to recruit more.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you can pick up Thomas Fedoni and Carter Nelson in consecutive classes, you do it, and then you figure out how you're going to use them.
Well,
hey, God, look at the athletes we have, and then look at Thomas Fedoni, what he did in that spring game.
I'm going to make another prediction similar that's built off the Chiefs comparison again. And I know there's probably a lot of Chiefs fans in the listening audience that remember this as well.
Well, you're a Chiefs fan, so this is, I feel like, double dipping for you.
Exactly, Jeff. Exactly. I almost called you John Craig. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What did I ever do to you?
I'm sorry, Baron von Mahachko. In 2017, Tyreek Hill was just very much still a gadget guy. He's fast, but Alex Smith at quarterback for the Chiefs just didn't have the arm to get it downfield to him consistently. You saw him become a totally different receiver in the first year of Patrick Mahomes being the starter in Kansas City in 2018. I think Jalen Lloyd is going to have a similar breakout to that with Dylan Raiola throwing him the football. And I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to be a very special player as well.
Nice.
Yep. And Ramir Johnson. I still think Ramir Johnson's going to have a hell of a year in this offense.
He can stay healthy.
It's funny because people are mixed on that. There's some people who say that he's going to be like the one left out. And there's some people who say, oh, no, he's going to be like the starting running back.
I don't think he'll be the starter, but I think he'll see a lot of snaps.
He's literally like, now, last year I'd say he was the most explosive. He's the most explosive player on the team, but he got injured early. He's a very explosive guy.
Yeah, look what he did to Michigan in 2021 in that game that we almost upset Michigan before Adrian Martinez fumbled. Yes,
I'm going to answer this question from Fred. Hoss is a Chiefs fan. Oh, no, tell me it's OG, at least not because Mahomes. It's OG. I can tell you that for a fact. And besides, if someone was going to bandwagon to successful programs or winning programs, I should say, then Hoss wouldn't be a Husker fan anymore.
No.
I don't think any of us would be Husker fans.
Answer Fred's question, the specifics. I go back to the first year I really got into the Chiefs was the year Dante Hall was running back kicks left and right under Dick Vermeil.
I was thinking you were going to say that Len Dawson smoking a cigarette on the sideline thing.
I'm only 33, dude.
We see pictures. They influence us. Hey, that guy.
Hermit Hoss returns with vast knowledge to enlighten us all from the son of David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast. Sam, it's living in Omaha, David Matney.
My God.
Realtor.
Get it right.
Sam.
Holy shit.
He can't even get his own father's title right.
But living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast. This, after hearing Hoss's analysis, I probably need to rewatch the game.
I want to close this part of the discussion out with probably the boldest thing that I have to say after this pregame.
Bold.
Okay.
If you pair what I think this offense can be with what our defense is projected to be this year, and if you look the way that we've built that defense, everything's in line with the 4 things Rhule talked about the day he got hired. Run the ball, stop the run, protect and affect the passers. When you look at the way our front 7 is built, we are a pressure defense. We played okay coverage last season, but we weren't super locked down in the back end. We really thrive on getting pressure on teams. And that's where that 3-3-5 kind of morphs into different fronts, and we're able to, kind of manipulate protections and exploit weak spots in the pass protection. But with all the pass rushers that we have, the edge guys on the defense, linebackers that are really hybrid players kind of in the JoJo Doman mold, I think if you pair that defense with an offense like this, what I think this one could be, you're looking at us potentially burying people, by 2 to 3 possessions. I'm not talking about Ohio State in the horseshoe or, teams that are really good, but I'm talking about the teams that you should beat, the teams that you should take care of, the teams that we've played really agonizingly close games with over the past few years. I think that's something that you could see us getting out to, 2 to 3 possession leads, and then really forcing them to being one-dimensional and just getting after their asses with the pass rush that we're going to have.
I want to ask you this question.
Oh, the Gata
I
thing.
can't even imagine what you're talking about.
Gata. Just remember that. Gata. Okay? Write it down. Write it down. G-A-T-A. G-A-T-A.
Who do you foresee having more of an impact on the defensive line? Would it be Ty Robinson, or do you think Nash dropping some weight for wrestling and, rebuilding his body in the offseason? Who is it, neck and neck? Is it too close to tell? Like, who do you see being that? I don't know, if I can crown an Ndamukong Suh, but who do you see being that, just dominant defensive lineman?
I think Ty Robinson. I like Nash Hutmacher, but I think Ty Robinson is just a little bit more explosive in terms of athleticism. I mean, he basically pretty much willed us to winning that Iowa game before, the curse struck again. I mean, just how dominant he was in that game, how dominant he really was for stretches of last season. I remember when Steve Sipple asked Rhule, well, how can he be dominant? He didn't record a tackle. It's like, watch the game.
Right.
Watch the game, It's like I always liken it to, I think it was Joey Dorsey from the University of Memphis in the Final Four against UCLA, probably in 2008. 0 points, but the dude had 22 rebounds and 10 block shots. I mean, that's a dominant game right there. But I was also going to say, along the defensive line, who I think is going to have the biggest effect on the pass rush, James Williams.
Oh, damn.
I honestly think it was a mistake to preserve his red shirt late in the year.
Who?
James Williams.
Oh, a lot of people have been talking about John Bullock too.
John Bullock's a solid player, especially dropping back into coverage from that middle linebacker spot.
I have to, since I asked the question, since you answered it so tremendously.
I thought you were just shaking your head in disgust at me, Greg.
No,
He
I
does
never.
that to me all the time.
Never.
I know how you feel, Hoss.
Very condescending, isn't it?
Yes.
So we started something by accident, very organically here. From time to time, I will break into song, not elaborate, not loud, because obviously my family's all asleep.
He likes to rap.
I have done a little bit of that, but we're going to go a little more classic this time around, because Fred dropped some reworked Simon and Garfunkel. So here's to you, Ty Robinson. Matt Rhule loves you more than you will know.
Whoa,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
There you go.
And here's to you. Can you pull up Scott Schrader's comment from 9:53?
I can. For you, anything. I mean, I had it saved for later, but yeah, that's fine. We have a section in the notes for Hoss's way too early predictions, but we're throwing out the format. We're going old school. Sorry, Minnie, you're going to have to. Hoss, any worries about our secondary since we'll be facing more prolific passing offenses this season?
Yes. And it kind of goes back to that conversation about being a pressure defense versus being a coverage defense. But in the back end, if we had Quentin Newsome back this year and also had Omar Brown, I'd feel a lot better about things. And then Bly Hill, let's see where that injury, how quickly he recovers from that. But I do like the fact that we're hosting that Jaden Mangum, the transfer from Michigan State, next week. He hit the portal. he was probably one of the better DBs we played last year. He gave us a lot of problems in the passing game against Michigan State last year.
We talked briefly, we talked a couple minutes about the defensive line, and Justin has a hot take that James Williams will be the sack leader this season.
Damn right, Justin.
Usually Justin's spot on.
He's got Randy Gregory type athleticism.
Really?
Yes. We haven't had a guy like that in a decade in Lincoln.
Well, let's talk a little bit. I mean, you mentioned Ramir Johnson, little Gabe Irvin, and Dante Dowdell. But if I had to ask you a question in my own words, definitely not yours, which I-back will benefit the most from an opened-up passing game?
Gabe Irvin runs like an old man.
Oh,
he just.
Hoss.
Here's a news flash, Hoss. Old men don't run, you fuck.
Hoss.
Okay.
I hope you keep your words.
Gee.
I like Gabe Irvin. I do. I think that he's that prototypical hammer back, great in short yardage, but he just, he runs a little upright. He runs, just a little constricted. He's not able to make a move in the open field.
What do you think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. You finish your thought, please.
Dowdell, I think the tools are there. It'll just be interesting to see if he can put it all together. I really think that it's going to be Ramir Johnson and Emmett Johnson.
I thought Emmett looked very.
Emmett Johnson played his ass off in an offense late last year that had nothing going for it.
Right.
What'd you think of Maurice Mazuka?
That's actually the kind of running back I like the most out of these kinds of spread offenses against those lighter boxes. I know we're going to get a chuckle from the Chatterfields on that one. I like a back that can run between the tackles and is physical because you're going up against a lot of secondary type athletes on the field. So I think that there's a spot for him in this offense. If you can find kind of a short, squatty type runner to run between the tackles out of a spread offense, kind of like a Kareem Hunt for the Chiefs back in 17-18, that's kind of the way to go. Just, they're good in pass protection. They're good out of the backfield. They can run between the tackles. So that's really what we should be looking for. And I thought he was
short and squatty too.
Yeah, but he's about 5'8".
I heard that he was 6'3". I didn't look it up.
Dowdell's 6'3".
Oh, okay.
But Mazuka's 5'8". I'd say Emmett Johnson's probably 5'11". Ramir Johnson's about 5'9".
I want to compare purely in between the sidelines on the field comparison, a little bit of that short, like wrecking ball type of running back, kind of like, and again, purely from an on-field football perspective, not for anything that took place in elevators allegedly, but like a Ray Rice.
Ooh, yeah. Glad you specified that. Yes, that's a great analogy, actually.
Thank you. I do okay once in a while. Jason Reeves says, with Ramir and Emmett Johnson, can we get some nil money, please? By the way, I was told that only Nebraska fans call it nil. Like all the other fan bases actually waste the time to say NIL.
I say NIL.
No.
I think the only person who calls it nil, John.
Yeah, everybody, but who hasn't been around me calls it NIL.
Well, this is the John Johnston influence then, because I call it nil.
Yeah, you can yell that. See,
I've never called it nil. I've never called it nil.
Roger Moore says, Gabe, get off my lawn, Irwin. Husker Chuck says, I want a t-shirt that says old men don't run, you fuck.
No, it's not that. It's you shit asses.
We'll work shit ass into something this season.
Don Dre says Hoss knows his stuff. And I feel like, Don Dre, maybe this is the first time you've been around Hoss. I have been fortunate enough to be across the computer screen with Hoss for years. And yeah, it's great because I don't have to do any work. I tell me about offensive line, and 45 minutes later, I'm like, cool, now tell me about linebackers.
Well, we're going to have, at some point in the summer, we're going to have to dust off the old duo articles from the spring of 2017 when I wrote all those decoding Langsdorff breakdowns on duo play, because we're going to be running a shit ton of duo this year.
You think so? Really?
Oh yeah. That's probably good. We're probably going to run duo more so than inside zone.
Well, that
We're
brings
going
up
to be like Minnesota.
It's effective, ain't it, John?
Yes, it is.
That brings up another interesting question, Hoss. Again, this is totally something I'm coming up with just in my mind and not from reading it off of a screen. But how will Nebraska win games this year?
You're going to see a diverse offense.
Diversity is good in the 21st century. That's what they tell me.
Oh, pick me. I'll tell you how we're going to win games.
John, you go. John, I want to know how you say we're going to win games, and we'll come back to Hoss.
Well, Jaden Lloyd. The guy averaged 40 yards of reception last year. What do you think he's going to do when he has a quarterback that actually throw the ball to him? There you go. 18 touchdowns.
I think it's going to be a case of pass to score and run to win. I think you're going to see us, if we can get a stop. If our offense is clicking, then our defense can get just timely stops, which I assume that they will. I think, like I said earlier, I think you'll see us bury some people by a couple of possessions. Kind of turn it into a track meet.
Well,
Thomas Fedoni is going to have – I think he's got his shit together, and he's got a quarterback that can throw the ball, and he looks like he knows where he's going on the field now.
Well, you guys don't give very much credit to Alex Bullock, but that guy caught 2 amazing balls.
What's your obsession with Bullocks?
It should have been 3, except Heinrich Harburg arm punted one, the middle of the field, a meatball over home plate against Michigan State.
Because he made the catches that he should have made last year. He made them this year, or at least in the spring game.
He did, but he'll probably be what is he, 4th or 5th probably now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I do think you'll see him emerge as, a possession receiver, but I think, when you're looking at Ja'Cory Barney and Jalen Lloyd, Malachi Coleman, you're going to see Fedoni and Carter Nelson and Nate Burkacher split out a lot too. They're not always going to be inline tight ends, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle the receiver rotation.
Then you got Banks and Naor.
Yeah,
I was just going to mention.
Forgot about them.
Yeah, see that? Where is he on that chart? That's a lot of talent, and he's not a bad player.
He's gonna. Hey, John. He's gonna be a coach on the field, a real gym rat type, the kind of guy you'd hope your daughter dates.
All right, let's address this question by Aaron Keene. Attributing too much forecastability to the spring game is no bueno.
It's what we do.
100% with Aaron.
I mean, that's true, but what else are we going to talk about, Keene?
Yeah.
This is this off season. If you're not drinking the Kool-Aid now, I don't know when you're going to drink.
I agree with Aaron to the point of projecting it against specific teams, where it's like you see that throw, just imagine what he's going to do against Ohio State all day long. That's not what you
Come on, I actually love that kind of talk.
I'm just scorned. I can't do that anymore.
Well, you guys are a good player.
Hoss, I if you recall, said in the first show of the season last year that we'd go 15-0.
And what did I say? 7-5. Anything more is gravy.
In fact, to that, because it was myself, it was John, and it was Jarek. And I said we would beat Minnesota 35-17, and then we stopped running the ball in the third quarter, and so we didn't. But yeah, I still have the list right here. All my W's.
Game by game.
Game by game. All right, so I highlighted this one. It got glossed over. TD Sutton says we'll lose at least 2 games because of our kicking game. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. I'm also willing to be persuaded out of this. And I think in the purpose of this show, in this version, in this iteration, being live and being, seeing silly comments from the Chatterfields and guests, that we get to talk them out of this negativity, this pessimism that we've been sitting and brewing in for the last decade and a half, that we can say, no, we're not going to lose 2 games because of our kicking game. We have a competent head coach for the first time in like 10 years. I mean, well, counting last year as well, but I don't necessarily think I disagree, or I don't think I agree with this take by TD Sutton.
So can I just touch on something that I think a lot of people,
as long as it's not Dylan Raiola. Like, you're not allowed to touch Dylan Raiola. That's what I'm saying.
Everything, circles back to Dylan. It's just
Jesus.
But
if Dylan just throws touchdowns on everyone, we don't have to worry about the kicking game. That's what you can say.
That is true. That is true.
But we do have a new long snapper.
That could be problematic.
And I noticed, not in my recorded version, but in the live game, Buschini actually had to turn the ball like a full rotation, laces out, right, for Tristan Alvano to kick it at least once. As well as when Dylan fumbled, we had, who was it? Justin Evans Jenkins on center, and most of his snaps were low. So these guys are all like learning those positions to snap the ball. That's kind of my take on it. Hoss,
I think
your expertise.
Long snapping, I think, is a concern because the snaps looked low. They looked mistimed, but also I'll say it is April, but that's something that we took for granted last year with Marco Ortiz and how solid he was just the entire time. As for Alvano, need to see some big development this year.
Yeah.
It's got to happen this year. If at the end of the year he's, I don't know, 9 of 14, 10 of 17, and it's a coin flip basically every time he goes out to kick, then yeah, it's time to move on. Time to go find something else.
I say, what 2 games are you thinking? What 2 games? Because if we're within a field goal of Ohio State, that's a pretty damn good game.
If we're within a field goal at Ohio State, and that's the margin that we lose by,
I will
take
die
that every fucking time.
USC? What about USC?
No, I'd be very disappointed.
No, John, you
lose to Lincoln Riley.
John,
what?
You do have a copy of my note.
I've never seen them.
First of all, I'm going to interject here.
Comments, by the way.
John Schmidt says we got 51 people in chat and only 24 likes on the video. Pull your weight, chat.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm seeing 53 on YouTube right now, 316 on X, and 3 on Facebook. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that. Hit the like button for the Huskers, or just for us. The Huskers got enough likes on Facebook. Crying out loud. We appreciate you, Justin. I'm kidding.
Well, we love the Huskers. That's why we're here.
Yeah, they have enough likes.
Heard Santino Panico was trying to become an MMA fighter.
I love this. This is a great underrated comment by Fred. And yes, I read it all the way through twice before posting it. Okay. Alvano versus Buschini. Vendetta goes back to the old country.
I also thought
because they're both Italian. They're both Italian, so it's the old country.
I didn't need it to be explained, but Minnie felt that you all needed it to be explained. Minnie, are you Italian? I feel like maybe you're.
Actually, I'm not at all, but I love every time I do any accent, it always comes out Italian.
Like, I saw Ed Norton in that Italian Job movie once with Mark Wahlberg. That was fun.
Are you from Fall River, Massachusetts, and have you smoked Marlboros every day since you were 12? Good Lord.
Hey, come here, honey. All right, moving on.
Did you go to the Pats game?
Let's go to the Pats game. It's down there at Foxborough. All right. All right. I want to stress this because the Matt Rhule's thing, his shtick is that, a few wins in season one, at the college level. You look at Temple and Baylor, and then he explodes for a much better second season, sophomore year, if you will. And Hoss, one of the talking points that you had says that Matt Rhule is ahead of schedule. So are 5-7 last year? Are we anticipating a 3-game jump? Are we anticipating a 5-game jump? I know you said to me privately, this is not on the notes, so Minnie, I apologize, but you said we are an 8 to 10 win team this year, and including the fact that we should start the season 7-0, I'll be disappointed if it's only 8 wins. Yep. So what you saw, and again, I know this goes back to that forecastability, Aaron. I apologize. But what you saw and what we know is coming in, how do you foresee Matt Rhule being, in your words, ahead of schedule?
Well, first I want to say the forecastability that Aaron mentioned, like, Aaron, I'm in complete agreement with you. But the reason why I said to Greg, 8 to 10 wins, and frankly, 8 would be a bit disappointing after starting 7-0, is this is the best roster that we've had since Pelini's third year in 2010. And so I think that this is a legitimate roster full of athletes. The offensive line is a veteran offensive line. We're going to have a good defensive front and a good pass rush. We ostensibly have what looks to be a very good quarterback, a quarterback who is well advanced for, where most freshman quarterbacks are at this point. And so if we were to start 7-0 and finish 8-4, I mean, that's looking at you win one of Ohio State, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Iowa. I mean, like, not bad. You take a pick out of any one of those, you'll take a win against any of them. But at the same time, like, if we're 7-0, we should be able to at least finish 3-2 down the stretch in the month of November.
Iowa.
What?
Missed Iowa.
I mentioned Iowa.
No, he said it.
Did you? Okay.
Yep. Oh, trust me, like, how much I hate those losers. They're always, unfortunately, they kind of live in my head rent free for how much I hate them.
What do you think about them getting a new quarterback?
Oh, the Brendan Sullivan from Northwestern. He won't start. It'll be Cade McNamara.
You don't think?
Yeah, Cade McNamara was the Michigan transfer who tore his ACL last year. It'll be him.
Okay.
But will he be ready to go?
Question.
I plan to talk to Scott Docterman next week about Iowa.
I like Scott Docterman, actually.
I do.
Not
next Monday night, but we'll do something next week with him.
As much as I hate the Hawkeyes, I've always, respected his columns.
I'll say this about Scott. He's not Black Heart Gold Pants, and they can fuck off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and Hawkeye Chronicles.
What? Say that again?
Black Heart Gold Pants is it's just a Iowa fan site. And I don't know if it's a
SB Nation Iowa site.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's a group effort or if it's just one jackass, but they're just if it's one or multiple, they're just jackasses, and we live rent free in their heads. We are their Super Bowl.
Here's a funny thing, okay? That
Is this funny haha or is this funny uh-oh?
No, this is like I hate somebody, haha.
Okay.
Because I don't hate anybody, but I have a friend of me who actually, she's the girl who, I buy a cabin up north. She buys a cabin up north.
One of those.
An English bulldog. She gets it. So I become a Husker fan.
Got a Stanley Cup.
Yes. So, anyways.
Have you tried heroin?
All of a sudden, I see her on Instagram, and she's wearing an Iowa cap, and I'm like, what the hell? And she goes, oh, yeah, we have. In my way, yes. I said, what's the deal with Iowa? And she goes, oh, yes. We bought a lake house on Lake Okoboji, whatever it is. And she goes, And so we're going to the game this weekend. And I'm like, you do know I'm a Huskers fan. Like, what the hell? What the hell? So now I have even more reason to hate Iowa. Like, seriously.
Vince Watson, did she join the chain gang and get her own DR?
She probably tried.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I know those.
You know
people,
the
yeah.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old.
Hell.
She needs her own 19-year-old quarterback. Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
She had
Jason Reeves.
Deacon Hill.
Jason Reeves. Our mini story is too long. I love this, and I'll tell you why I love this. What the heck? Come on!
I'm trying to highlight it. Stop it. Not your comments. My comments. John, take her access away. This is getting ridiculous out of hand.
My kids say the same thing, Jason. It's okay. Just hang in there. There's a point.
I like this.
You know,
Josh is looking out for you.
If you
Josh
ask a
says
question like that, if you ask a question like that, Josh, she's just going to tell you another long story. So be careful of what you're doing.
Speaking of Black Heart Gold Pants, are you guys familiar with Hawkeye Chronicles on Twitter?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have a theory. I don't think that guy's actually an Iowa fan. I think he's just a troll. I think he's somebody living in Omaha who's just a troll and wants to, trolling Husker fans is good for business.
I'll say this. Probably not a Iowa fan, definitely a Creighton fan.
He's very good at it. Or they are very good at it, whoever it is.
Josh says that a Wish version of Mini picked a shit-ass program. I've been trying to say that for 3 minutes.
Thank you.
All right.
Growing frozen grapes at Iowa fans. Hell yeah, brother.
All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. We got some big recruits coming this weekend.
Five-star offensive tackle.
That's right. I don't have graphics for Nebraska being in an individual's preseason top 25. But real quick, let's talk about Hoss, your way too early predictions. And because we have been.
You want me to go game by game?
No. We're going to save that for August. You know better.
Okay, good.
The overall.
Let's see here. Let's start with living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Hard Podcast. Was it a question for Hoss based on your analysis of the team at this point? What would you predict our record to be?
Do you want my honest to God?
Yes.
And
we're not here for bullshit. We're not here for bullshit.
Hey, Hoss,
I tweeted this.
Hoss,
yes.
Don't think too hard about it. Just give me your gut instinct.
Go with your 5 Hard.
I tweeted this to Josh Pate of the Late Kick podcast on Sundays. He's asking for what bold prediction are you willing to put money on? And I'm a big believer in you say it with your chest. Like you put it all on the line. Nebraska's going to go 10-3. They're going to lose to Ohio State twice.
Oh, that's a Big Ten championship game.
What was the other loss? Just one that we don't expect?
Yeah.
It's always just like something that happens.
You got a freshman quarterback, things
right.
could happen, 10-3, 2 losses.
Indiana picks us off 5 times.
No. God, if anything, I'd say, and I don't want to say it, but these aren't official. These are not official, and I'll throw on the not official USC.
Where that falls in the schedule actually concerns me a little bit.
Okay, we're not there yet, guys.
No, we're not there.
Yeah, we can do this now and do it later.
Like I said, it's not official.
You can do something now and then do
Hey,
it
Greg,
later.
on your little weird thing.
Sean, that's redundant.
Write me in 10-3. Just write 10-3.
I'm gonna rip off. This is 2023 season. There goes.
Peace.
2024 season. Hoss 10-3. There you go. And it's not like a little thing. It's a notepad. Crying out loud. It has a name. All right.
I'm gonna call you the tax man.
That's fine. I've been called worse. Aaron Keene says, are we going to see expanded usage of the fullbacks, or is that never to return?
I think you'll see some fullback stuff. I think you're still going to see us get under center at times.
What's Janoran Bonner?
He's like a fullback. He's like in the NFL.
He was a tight end that moved to wide receiver. He's been everything. He
can be a fullback.
He was.
I think the problem people have with the fullback is they're expecting they need a label
from 1995.
Yeah, that, and they need a label. They need a guy labeled fullback. There is nobody going to be labeled fullback. They're going to line up as a fullback, and they're going to run fullback plays.
It goes back to that positionless offense that Rhule and Satterfield talked about. It's like the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Juszczyk is a fullback, sure, but if you watch the Niners, look how many times he's lined up at receiver, tight end, H-back. He's all over the place. And that's kind of where they want Bonner to get to. That's at least what I think.
Fred says,
no.
Oh, Black Betty, in a ring.
What? Fred says, and you just knew John to instinctively react in such a way. Highlander Gun says, this, I didn't mean to jump to this one, but here it is. How many days till the season starts? I don't. Somebody actually answered the question in the comments because they're that good. But I was going to say nobody knows because Minnie was only counting down the days to Dylan's birthday.
I'm going to say I think it's like just ballparking it like 120 days maybe.
Close, very close. 114.
Justin, my man. Thanks.
Highlander Gun's going to start counting down. Husker Chuck says the ideal fullback should be short, powerful, and wide.
Maurice Mazuka.
The cannon, the wrecking ball, the cannonball.
John called him a bowling ball last week.
Not on this show, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Did he? I forgot he was on the show this week.
I think that was Dowdell.
Oh, that's right.
Bowling ball's fine.
Bowling ball.
But you've never heard this term?
Knock them all down. Knock all the pins down.
Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart podcast, says, do those two losses to Ohio State, are they due to our kicking game?
If we lost to Ohio State the first time in Columbus due to our kicking game, and that was the sole reason, I'd be like, all right, shit happens. Let's keep this season going.
Then we'd beat them in Indianapolis, you would think.
If it happened in Indianapolis, again, our kicking game cost us the game, I will go down to 72nd and Dodge, not to celebrate, but just to mourn.
You get one. You get one special teams. Don't fuck us over twice.
Yeah, you get one special
team. Come on. We're talking about like the predicted number one team in the Big Ten. So, yeah.
Here's my theory on Ohio State this year. I don't think their offense is going to be as good as everyone's making it out to be.
I don't think so either.
I didn't like Chip. I thought Chip Kelly's offenses at UCLA were creative. I like some of the stuff that he developed out there, but they were never like, high scoring. They weren't the machines that he put together when he was at Oregon. And Will Howard at quarterback, it's either him or it's going to be a true freshman, Julian Sayin. Their defense is going to be very good. I will say that.
Well, and there was a little bit of this going on, I noticed, in the spring game.
Between
Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. Ryan Day thought he should do this, and he was doing this.
I think that's normal. These are competitive personalities, and they're in their environment. And they're triggered. When you step across the line to go onto the football, something else happens.
Yeah, but you know what? The difference is when Marcus Satterfield was calling the plays. What's up with you, Greg?
I'm just entertaining myself. See, we have a full panel. I don't have to pay as much attention.
Little close-up action.
I'm the star of the show, damn it.
Great.
Okay, Marcus Satterfield That's where you were.
Before I messed it up.
You were going to say something like Marcus Satterfield and Matt Rhule never did that. Okay,
Matt Rhule actually always. You're right. You're right, John. That's exactly it. Yes.
That's
differences in personalities.
Yeah. Coaching styles. Matt Rhule's a CEO.
Yep.
He's going to let Rhule do a lot. He's probably going to countermand him, but probably not in the middle of a game, I guess.
Ryan Day is still very much learning how to be a head coach. And now Chip Kelly is his OC. That's the guy that he played for at the University of New Hampshire. So it's got to be some strange dynamics.
I would think.
But I think it goes back to what John mentioned about it's just two competitive people.
Owen Walker wants to know, do you see Carter Nelson making a big impact as a freshman?
I hope so. He's fantastic.
No.
I hope so.
The athleticism's there, but he needs to get a lot bigger.
Let him cook.
Say, for
let him cook.
D1 tight end, I think he needs to put on some – he needs to hit the weight room.
He needs to put on at least about 25 pounds.
He actually is not as thin as you would think.
Get him
but he's a new guy. We have Thomas Fedoni, Nate Boerker.
He needs to eat some Runzas.
Who else is our tight end?
It needs to be good weight. It needs to be good functional weight.
Gary's Quick Steak, Lincoln, Nebraska, for all your protein needs.
Gary's Quick Steak. And you can find him in your Costco's.
Yep. Frozen foods aisle. Scott Schrader says Fedoni finally healthy and needs a breakout season. Nobody will dispute that. Jason Reeves asked. I was going to say, like a real breakout season for a tight end.
I agree.
In college football, I would say 700 yards.
I don't see that as being impossible.
I don't either. He
has
the ability.
I also feel like most of his nil money. Sorry, this is the John in me. Stop it, Fred.
Greg.
What?
Nil.
It's John's fault.
It's nil.
Anyway, I believe that most of his, we'll say compensation then, not that that's any shorter, it's got to be from various tattoo shops. Like that boy's got himself some ink. Jason Reeves says, the name escapes me. Is anybody particularly upset that the more realistic nature of the spring game cost a receiver?
Demetrius Bell.
Yes.
He actually, the problem is that he had a hamstring injury and they wanted to get him some play time in the spring game. He shouldn't have been out there.
To answer the question, no, not particularly upset. If you're going to play football, play football. If you want to worry about injuries, go fucking do something else. Go be Scott Frost and play patty cake. You got to practice. If you're going to play a violent game, you have to play it. Stop the fear thing.
If you're going to fight in the North Atlantic, you got to train in the North Atlantic.
Yeah. Whatever the hell that means.
It's a Bo Schembechler thing. But what it means is, hey, you gotta replicate test conditions. You practice in the same conditions that you're going to be playing in. And so, if football's a dirty, nasty game, it's physical, it's violent. That's the way you got to practice it.
Let's talk about this. Scott Schrader says Satterfield didn't do much in South Carolina with Spencer Rattler, a quarterback. I still have concerns, but Satterfield by nature is not a quarterback coach.
No, Glenn Thomas is the quarterback's coach, and I agree with Scott. Outside of that Tennessee game and the Clemson game at the tail end of Satterfield's tenure at South Carolina, they really didn't do much. But now that he's with Glenn Thomas again, every time Glenn Thomas and Satterfield have worked together, whether it was at Temple or Baylor, they've put together top 40 offenses.
I have a question here that I'll show, and then I have a question I thought I highlighted, but I didn't, and I'll be honest with you, I'm too lazy to scroll back and find it. Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast, says, hypothetically speaking, if we were to win only one game this year, what is the one must-win game?
Colorado.
Thank you.
If we don't win that, it's going to be indicative of
we're screwed.
Problems.
Our life is over.
It's just like if in Frost's second year.
That bitch friend of yours will suddenly be wearing Colorado gear around your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Driving by.
And
That's what's going to happen.
my hair lady is on Instagram wearing a Colorado Buffaloes hat. And
She's no longer your hair lady.
Yeah, you need to find,
Go to
find a new
Clips,
hair
buddy.
lady.
Go to Great Clips.
New
Go
hair lady.
wherever you need to, but you're not going to her.
I need to get a new group of friends here.
Husker Chuck says must be Colorado. TSD Tiger Shark Diver, who's here, says Colorado. Justin says Colorado. David living in Omaha. David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast, also says Colorado.
I liken it to Scott Frost's second year in 2019, up 17-0 on Colorado.
Highlighted this comment.
And we lost that game. If we win that game, I think 2019 actually plays out differently for Nebraska.
I agree.
And so it's the same dynamic
And
this
for
year.
Scott Frost.
You have to win. No, he would have screwed himself over.
Yeah.
It's the same dynamic this year. If you lose to Colorado in game 2, that's going to shatter the confidence of this team.
Yeah.
Got to win that game.
Tiger Shark Diver says my little brother graduated from Colorado. Well, disown him. He doesn't have to be your little brother. That's
Don't
just,
you have a son who went to Minnesota?
Yeah, you have a rotten son that went to Minnesota, so no
That's
barking
not
out of
Colorado. They're not black and gold.
You know what I learned the day that we lost Colorado to open the Frost era in 18? After we lost that game, I was getting texts from a Colorado fan I know, and Iowa fans about us losing. If you're a Husker fan, hell is painted black and gold.
Yeah.
It's true.
you. At least we don't have to play Missouri.
I miss playing them because I
do.
hated the fuck out of those.
Yeah.
Fred says Colorado. He says, I'll give up if we lose and be a terror on this show. And Fred, I don't think anybody can handle that. I don't know what'd be different from now, but I imagine it'd be worse. And no.
Fred,
remember Fred, whenever Trev Alberts went to Texas A&M, it would be that times 10.
The Chatterfields many were weighing in on your hair stylist and wearing the Colorado hat. Roger says she's fired.
She should be fired.
Living in Omaha, David Matney says the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast says you need a new hair lady. Husker Chuck said something. I'm not going to read it.
I like what Husker Chuck said about Mizzou will be our bowl opponent unless they make the playoff. I love that idea, playing Mizzou in the bowl game.
That'd be fun.
Wow.
Jason Reeves says I'd shave it bald on principle, Minnie. Scott Schrader says Colorado hands down.
You guys know that David, my husband, actually got his MBA from Colorado.
But he doesn't root for Colorado.
No, but when we were going to the game, he goes, because he wanted Dion as our coach. And I'm like, oh, what the hell's wrong with you?
You never told me any of this before.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He was one of those people. One of these. There's probably like some lurking in our chat that wanted Dion as our head coach. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't fit Nebraska. It's not what Nebraska's all about.
I remember when I called it that Matt Rhule, I wanted Matt Rhule, and John on this show said he looked like an Ewok.
He does look like an Ewok.
John
you said you didn't want Matt Rhule for that reason alone, John.
Well, he does. He's not wearing the smocks.
No.
By the way, Blaine Cole says this old timer still dislikes any Florida team more than any other team out there.
Yeah.
But we get some good players from Florida.
Yeah, but we get better ones from where, Minnie?
Nebraska.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Georgia / Arizona / wherever the hell Dylan Raiola was.
She is on brand for this thing, the 5 Heart Podcast.
I don't disagree with this. Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast, says, I still think the entire Scott Frost era would have been different had it not have been that Akron Zips game rained out in year 1.
I don't think that was 0-6.
Scott Frost
We were-
was going
we
to
were
always
poised
end
to
up
win.
this way. He was always going to end up this way. Nothing happened in a game or on the field or between rosters that would have changed his trajectory. That's it. I always see people, well, it's the Akron game. No, it would have ended up the same.
The only thing I'll say
It would
to
have
that,
just
John,
taken longer for that shit bag to get shit ass to get ready, just tossed out of Nebraska.
There's a difference between calling somebody a shit bag and a shit ass.
Well,
Okay.
yes, there's like 2 letters or something.
No, it's actually more offensive to call somebody a shit bag.
What?
Shit ass is acceptable. Okay?
you know what I like to call Scott Frost? Just a fraud. Just an absolute fraud.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
come
true.
on. Really?
Yeah. Yes.
He had, and Fred, you'll get this reference. Scott Frost, it's evident he had no respect for this thing. I mean, none whatsoever. He was still living back in 1997, mad that the fans booed him when Frankie London went in. He never, like, he was never in it. He should have never taken the job. You know, like, if he would have
You're
never
right.
taken the Nebraska job, the dude's probably still at UCF or somewhere else.
I said this earlier. The 2021 Illinois game, it was, honest to God, it was clear that he did not even prepare the game.
It was coaching malpractice.
Yeah.
It truly was.
And his
know-
offense looked like he had a play sheet full of plays, and he just kind of called them.
we couldn't, they were in an odd front. We couldn't adjust for that. Well, you run inside, outside zone. Yeah, you can. If you're teaching your guys rules-based blocking,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And then the infuriating thing about Frost, though, was he turns around and he deals one hell of a game against Michigan in 21, some of the best play calling I've ever seen. It's like he just couldn't put it all together. He couldn't stay focused. The dude's head was too many different places outside of football.
Well, don't you also think that's when college football was really changing? Like the whole
It's still
NIL
football.
became a thing.
It's still
Yes,
football.
Football.
But
It's
also he brought his assistant coaches with him.
And he fired the ones that were
All
actually
those
good because they
horrible-
pushed back on him. I mean,
They were horrible. They
Greg-
should never have been
Greg-
brought to Lincoln.
Greg Austin was one of the best offensive line coaches before Frost started meddling in everything with the O-line. Like Ryan Held, I don't think Ryan Held was a good running backs coach. But Troy Walters,
What about
Frost Patsy, and now he's the receivers coach for the Cincinnati Bengals.
defensive line coach that went to Oregon?
Oh, Tony Tuioti.
Yeah.
Great coach.
Yeah.
Eric Chenander proved himself to be a fraud. I mean, look how much it
Yeah,
was,
he's
how
horrible.
difficult it was for him to field a good defense. Bill Bush steps in after he's fired. And for the
And that
last
Mario, what was his name?
Mario
Our
Rodriguez.
quarterbacks coach. He was, I mean, obviously he never developed our quarterbacks. It's like that was the biggest problem I felt.
I think a lot of that goes back to Frost's idea of development for quarterbacks too.
Well, and that's the other thing that I wanted to say, that the spring game shows how much Rhule says, okay, we are a developmental program, but he truly is. Like this truly is. I can name off the top of my head at least 10 players that have been developed within a year.
My moment last year when I realized that this staff was truly a developmental staff was when Rob Dvorak turns Mikhail Bayer into a player, a guy that was on the trash heap from Frost. When you see John Bullock, a guy that would have never gotten any meaningful snaps under Frost, turns into a really solid linebacker. Guys,
What
like
about
James Williams off the street at a football camp? You know,
what about my best friend, Bryce Ben
Who?
Hart?
oh,
Bryce
you
Benhart.
Minnesota guys stick together and eat tater tot hot dishes and drink Grain Belt, huh?
You know, after he's done with Husker football, I want to get him on an interview and he can just swear at me as much as I've sworn at him.
He's probably going to be in the NFL this year.
Yeah, that's
Next year
development.
this time.
You know,
Well,
Yeah,
just
I
look
hope
at
so.
look at in a year or maybe less than a year what Mark Rhule and his staff did with Heinrich Harburg, who was not considered a quarterback by Mark Whipple.
Yeah, Mark Whipple told him he's a nobody from nowhere.
Oh, let's not get started on Mark Whipple.
Oh,
I think we can have a whole show about Mark Whipple.
Let's hit some comments and then let's carry on.
One of the things that gets me about the Whipple hire is at the time Frost wanted to hire DJ Lynn, from the head coach at UNK at the time, to be the new OC, which probably would have been more in line with what we were doing offensively with Adrian Martinez and Logan Smothers. And instead he goes with Mark Whipple, who his offense was revolutionary back in 1999. But I digress. I'm sorry. That's one.
Nobody knows. Hey,
Mark Whipple won.
Nobody knows football as much as Mark Whipple.
Oh gosh, Mark Whipple did look like the guy from the Charmin commercial.
Oh,
I remember when he actually said that on a press conference.
He was weird. He was just, man, I hated his offense. It was like eating at the Golden Corral.
Greg?
Yeah, I guess honestly, I don't blame any of the coaches that were under Scott Frost. All of it had to be such a dysfunctional environment that nobody could function anyway. When your boss doesn't get, if you're in your job and your boss doesn't give you actual directions about what you're supposed to be doing on a week-to-week basis, whose fucking fault is it when you fail?
Exactly. You got to give direction and guidance. All right, Greg, because you were so dramatic.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hold
I'm
on.
surprised he didn't take himself off the show.
I bet he went. I bet he's going to be one of those guys that goes off to the side and puts little teardrops on his face.
It's not really my style, John. I think we all know by now that's more effort than I'm willing to put into anything. Brando Sports Rule says better late than never. Finally made it in. High five, hard gang. Nice to see Hoss on. I'll have to watch the replay. And Sam Matney, the son of the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast, says, I like when John randomly yells and gives some high level analysis.
Yeah, me too.
I was the youngest of 7.
Yelling and providing analysis is what you came up doing, right?
At 7, you had to do something to get noticed by your parents, so they didn't leave you anywhere.
Don Dre says, my heart has been broken so much in the past 6 years. I have trouble getting my hopes up, even when Nebraska looks like a good team.
You know what, though?
This
is the number one problem with Nebraska fans. Guys, okay, I'm just going to say this one time. Please wipe that out of your minds, because there's a new sheriff in town. And his name is Dylan Raiola.
I fucking knew it. God damn it.
That was so beautiful.
Wow.
You need to record that in a vertical format under 1 minute.
Okay. I don't even know what that is.
That's a short.
It's a short on YouTube.
Short. Yeah.
It'll get all the clicks.
Yeah, well.
You'll go viral. You'll probably be seen by Dylan Raiola himself.
I don't think I want to go viral.
It's not the same kind of viral that Hoss has.
I have a question for Greg.
I caught that. Shame on you, John. Yes, sir.
Hey, you've had like 3 or 4 beers. How's your bladder doing?
It's like 85%.
He's got it. He does the depends. Come on.
We're
not even done. Hoss,
if
you need to use the restroom, you're welcome.
That's not how we do. No. You hold it.
Yeah, I was gonna say my next question was gonna be like, we peacing soon? Like, I gotta get up and go to the gym at 4 tomorrow.
We're only there is 8, 9, 10 on all those points to go through.
Yeah. Which is a great time to move on. And as a reminder, Hoss and I are going to bring back an old show, kind of. We do the Corn Nation overreaction after the games, and we're going to do a overreaction review or a Corn Nation I don't know. We don't have a damn title for it yet. But next week, we are going to bring you another look at the 2023 Minnesota game. We're going to do it with all the emotions detached. We're still going to look at the game, just not as pissed off as we were, 8 months ago, whatever it was. So stay tuned for that. Why? Because we're gluttons for punishment.
Evidently, we have no lives.
This isn't going to be. Is this going to be live?
No, it will not be live. We apologize, but it will be here on YouTube for all of you in the video format. Thank you. Thanks, John. So yeah, we're just going to revisit the wins and the losses because we had more wins last year than we had in a few years, and
you're not wrong.
Hey.
Are you looking for suggestions for a show name? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what it did? Is that what you
Nation? It's the fucking off season.
it's not. We're not gonna swear in the title, Hoss.
It's the dead gum.
I like this. Josh says Greg presenting YouTube like he birthed it.
He does that. Greg,
What?
your baby.
Husker Chuck says high def mini. I don't know what.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
We
Apparently
don't know.
you're high def.
What? Yeah.
James Boardman calls it a flashback podcast. That's not bad. An apology counter. That's right. Hoss and I do apologize. We're much more polite when it's just the two of us.
Yeah, John's always like,
yeah, you guys.
Nice.
I think it's hilarious. Greg is always like, "No, go ahead," and Haas is like, "No, you," and then Greg's like, "No, go ahead, please,
Sir?
after you."
Let me get the door for
I
you, sir.
apologize.
You know what energy I have when I
apologize to
finally
you.
when
You guys
go,
spent like 10 minutes just apologizing to each other.
when I finally go ahead after Greg's like, no, I insist. It's like me at a stop sign when I'm like, okay, you have the right of way, go ahead. And somebody's like, no, you go. I'm like, no, fucking go.
It's the Midwest. So what do you expect?
Oh, Josh says we can still call it whiteboards and black shirts, the off-season edition.
That's a
Like
good
that.
name.
Hey, that's kind of interesting.
All right, Josh.
We'll be sure to talk about the Jeff Sims Amigos Pick 6 special.
Boy, those poor bastards. You sign a guy to a nil thing and you do that, and then he comes. I mean, oh my God, it's just so horrifying.
Since we opened the season on a Thursday night last year, the following Saturday I was down in Lincoln and I went to the Best of Big Red store off 70th, just south of O. And in that same strip mall in that plaza, there's an Amigos. And as I was walking into the Best of Big Red store, somebody's sitting on the patio at the bar next to the store, and they're like, "Yeah, the Jeff Sims special." I was like, "You throw an interception and shit your pants at the same time."
You said that?
No, I didn't say that. This guy
They
sitting
did.
on the patio at the bar said it. But there was like that entire weekend in the state of Nebraska, people were just pissed.
Oh yeah.
At Jeff Sims.
What?
Well, I mean, he
Lost us the game.
Yes, he lost games.
No wonder.
I love
when
that
walked
tweet
in-
that said he might land at Arizona State. He's since committed to them, so he is at Arizona State. But the tweet said had turnover problems in a few games last year, and I was like, a few? That's all he had.
Yeah.
I went up to him and I said, "You played so hard. Good game." And he's literally hobbling as he's walking. And he just looked at me and he goes, "Thank you," with a big smile.
Minnie,
Warmed my heart.
you're a real woman of the people.
God, you know what? If you're around us enough, we're gonna make you jaded. That's
Yep.
There's no way.
I feel like it's a goal of mine now.
Yep. I'm just gonna like.
You have no
hopefully I
idea.
don't have a lot.
I live with somebody who is more tainted than you guys.
Tainted?
For sure.
You sure that's the word you want to use?
Yeah.
Something. He has issues.
Tainted husband.
Like he'd hate it if I called him that. Okay, he'd say he's a realist. Whatever.
I think historically, like I'm the realist of our podcast.
I'm definitely the optimist.
I border also just being an asshole as well, especially when we're losing a lot of games.
All right. So
Highlander gun, really?
he was, yeah.
My buddies are turning against me.
Fred says Tainted was a game Northwestern played at Camp Kenosha.
What are you doing in my
Not in
swamp?
that sense.
All right. So Joel Klatt gave his way too early top 25 ranking and put Nebraska number 22, which is
What a swell
mentionable.
guy. What a swell guy.
Super.
Hell, we went 5-7 last year. So
That
why
was
are we
last year.
22?
No, it's
The
just
top 25.
projecting.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it creates conversations and discussions for the off season.
But he puts a lot of thought into this. He
Yeah.
truly believes it. It's not like he didn't even put Colorado up there, guys.
They're 24th.
Are they?
Yeah.
He put him
He had them
24th?
up there. He had them
Oh
up there.
my
he
God.
Did I
He
miss
had
that?
Iowa at 24.
Oh, Iowa's at 24, but it was like Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and Colorado were all right there in a row.
No.
USC 15th, Ohio State number 1.
Don't you have the little thing?
No, I have. Yes, I sent it to Greg. Colorado's not on there.
I ain't got no stinking graphic.
I actually enjoyed that.
No, Colorado's not on there.
No Dion.
So top 25. Top 25.
Well, I never saw the graphic, but I was listening to his podcast when I was lifting. I think it was a case of he was just talking about him then.
I'm going to rip through this as quick as I can. I'm not going to give the numbers. I'm starting at number 1. I'm going all the way to 25. Keep up if you can. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Ole Miss, Utah, Alabama, Michigan, Penn State, Missouri, Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson, LSU, Southern California, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Miami, Ohio State. Nope, scratch that. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Texas A&M. Take that, Trev Alberts, you son of a bitch.
The one that surprised me the most was Utah.
Utah's going to be good this year. Really good.
Yeah, but
Oh, they move into the Big 12.
wow.
I think they probably win the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, they it's still Kyle Whittingham, right? He's probably defense those guys to death.
They had so many injuries last year too.
That's big. I think that surprised a lot of people, though. Okay, so we're 22nd, guys. Woo!
I agree with Klatt based on the projection. Like, we're poised to make a jump this season. Obviously, I said 10-3 with 2 losses to Ohio State, but at the same time, this is giving me big 2019 vibes when we were ranked 25th in the AP after going 4-8 the year before. And so I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am absolutely scarred by Scott Frost's second year at Nebraska.
You are absolutely
Just
scarred by
a
Scott
second.
Frost.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
All right. It is coming up on the 2-hour mark.
It's
We're
time
gonna
to go.
We're gonna zip through number 10. It's a big recruiting weekend in Lincoln. There's something in parentheses. I can't read it. Let's move on. We
It's
have
called the Raiola effect.
I don't know
Because
about any of
guess
that.
what? Guess what? We have a 5-star visiting tomorrow. Go ahead.
I was trying to get through the show without hearing the name one more damn time. And that was impossible to happen.
Not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. All right. So the first, among the players who are expected to be in this weekend, we have 5-star offensive lineman. Yes. David Sanders Jr.
Okay.
He's from someplace.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's right. Charlotte.
From Providence Day School. And he is 6'6", 270 pounds. He's the number 2 player in the 2025 class for 24/7 Sports.
Well,
he does shot put and discus.
So full disclosure, and I don't believe this young man is a football player, but 53 feet 3.5 inches in shot put is great. But there's a kid, and this is completely off the reservation, and I apologize. There's a young man from the town I used to live in who just set a conference record with a shot put 61 feet and change. So I'm like, I mean, let's sign him up. I mean, if we're putting track and field statistics in our notes, just any old boy who can throw a stone should come out and strap on pads and be a lineman.
Greg, the reason we're putting these in our notes is because Matt Rhule thinks it's important to recruit multi-sport athletes.
Okay. Caleb Smith might be multi-sport. I don't know.
Does he play football?
I don't know.
Hoss, just so you know, this is are they married part of the show?
I was wondering the same thing.
We're like brother and sister. He tells me all the time, this is my show, Minnie.
A 5-star left tackle, offensive tackle would be huge to get. But much like Aaron pointed out about spring game hype and also Joel Klatt rankings, being almost as worthless or less than the spring game. Hosting 5 stars in May, I just can't even begin to, speculate on it. If it was December, different story. That's when I start paying attention to recruiting.
Okay.
Husker Chuck says he
two
gets
more
shot
to
put
go,
60
Huss.
feet easy.
Good God.
All right. This
Trying
time,
to get out of here. It's almost 11 p.m.
welcome to the new 5-Heart podcast.
Low key, I don't know how much I'll be on. I do want to point out one. Never mind. Continue.
Josh, I take offense to this.
Whoa.
And that's from someone I consider a friend. All right.
Not anymore.
Broderick Scholl, tell us about this 4-star tackle.
Bixby.
4-star offensive lineman. He's already had 2 unofficial visits, and he's 6'5", 275 pounds. He plays basketball and he trains in the boxing ring. He's from Bixby, Oklahoma, and he's the number 19 rated prospect overall for 2025.
Well, he's got the face for it.
Is that similar to like when I was getting into radio and my dad's like, oh, you got a face for radio?
Yep.
Which is actual thing that my blood father told me. He's like, you got a good face for radio, son.
Nice.
All right. Last but not least, Mr. Nicholas Clayton coming in. What can you tell us about Mr. Clayton?
He's our 3-star edge that'll be visiting this weekend. He's 4.5 inches, 205 pounds. In 2023, he had 51 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. He's from Gainesville, Florida. He also does track and field events. As a sophomore, he did triple jump and long jump. They love these guys that are in track and field.
He has a 40-foot, 2-inch long triple jump. That sounds like a long, I don't know, track. I just years ago. But that sounds.
All I know is how fast they can run, what that equates to. But I think being able to jump is pretty good. And what?
Fred's being Fred, and I should know better.
Okay. We have come to the end of the format. Are you okay, Hoss?
Yeah, I'm fit as a fiddle over here.
John, are you doing well?
Yeah, I am.
Minnie?
I took some THC gummy. I took one of those before we started.
Took some Blue Chew, huh, John?
Well, that's for a different thing. I'm not sure how that would help here. We probably should not go into it.
I'll tell you what, if realistically, if you would have popped that Blue Chew about 10 minutes ago.
See what you did?
Then by the time we wrap this show up in 3 or 4 minutes, you and Mrs. Coronation be ready to roll.
Aw. She had a rough day with her 4-year-olds.
Yeah. You could. Never mind.
John, go do your husbandly duty.
What? She's been in bed for 2 or 3 hours already.
You go wake her up. Give her. Never.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Living in Omaha, David Matty, thank you so much. He did say before he gave us money, he said, "Great show, thanks, guys." Hey, look, we'll take the money. I mean, John does. I don't see any of it.
John's embezzling from SB.
The super chat, but and this is important because Aaron Keene said earlier, one more, and this will have to be renamed the 5 Matinees podcast because we got the whole Matinee family on the show tonight. But what we really need is like a Living in Omaha David Matinee. I'm serious. Cooley, Koozie, I don't know what y'all call it. It's regional dialect. Hooch3600@gmail.com. I'll send you my address. You send me one, and I'll put my Yinglings in which every time. Just right there. All right.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Let's see.
Okay.
Serious question for Hoss. I know it's spring game, but did the OL at least function slightly better than a monkey fucking a football?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they didn't even have a lot of the seniors playing. They had the backups.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Ben Scott out there aside from the first drive.
I don't know. I think it was Justin Evan Jenkins that was on the first drive.
I think he was in there on the first drive. I think quite a few of those guys took one drive and sat.
Okay. Maybe.
11:01. Jason Reeves says John's going to get tainted. That's kind of funny. DeAndre says go for an all-nighter. And I'm not sure if he's talking about here on the 5 Heart podcast or John popping that blue chew.
John and Mrs. Coordination get to ride Space Mountain all night long.
Allegedly, Husker Chuck's Yinglings don't sound like this. You know, that's not the sound I made earlier. I apologize. That's a failure on my part. I was supposed to ask you, Minnie, how big are the recruits? Tell us, Minnie. Well, we know a couple 3-star, 4-star, 5-star.
I already told you guys.
I know. I did this out of order. I'm sorry. I was so trying to get through the graphics that I threw.
We have 6'4.5", 6'5", and 6'6".
Okay. Justin said, by the way, 9:27 p.m. said the Colorado game should be a night game. I believe they're working on that NBC primetime for that. Should be wild to see that one with the home atmosphere, with it being Colorado, with it being the electricity and the atmosphere that Memorial Stadium is under the lights. That'd be a fun one. Let's double check here. Okay, perfect. Bone-led corn-fed. I did star the comment. I just forgot. What would you want? A 63-0 blowout of Iowa or going to a bowl game?
Bowl game.
Oh.
Minnie?
We could blow out Iowa 45-0 and still go to a bowl game. I'd be for that.
Okay, I'd take that option.
I honestly think
beating Iowa is key for me.
Yeah.
I want to ask Minnie a hypothetical question before we end the show.
Well, can I give my answer? Do I not get to give my answer?
Please.
Go ahead, Greg. Please.
I would like Iowa to hold on to like some very sliver of hope until the last 30 seconds of the game, where we either win it on a walk-off field goal or scoop and score or pick six or something like that. Like, I want them to feel hope until the very end and also go to a bowl game.
Yes.
Rip their hearts out at the last second.
Absolutely.
Me too.
All right, Minnie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that Dylan Raiola throws for 4,100 yards this year, 34 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, leads us to a 10-3 record. And then he decides to take more nil money and transfers elsewhere after the year.
Oh my God!
What are you gonna do?
Broken heart.
Okay. That's not gonna happen.
What's not gonna happen?
His sister.
4,100 yards and 34 touchdowns.
You guys like to make fun of my stalking, but just so you know,
We've had a lot of images submitted about it. I just want you to remember.
Guess who is going to be Dylan Raiola's roommate next year.
I hope it's not you, because that'd be really inappropriate.
No,
Thomas Fedoni.
no.
They're roommates,
His sister is moving in with him. So I think she must be going to Nebraska next year. She's already graduated from TCU, so she must be getting her master's degree from there. And so that's like, what, at least 2 years?
I think the correct answer here is track him down and cut off his toes so that he can't plant ever the same again.
You know
That's
what?
the correct answer for you.
He doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to move that far away from Patrick Mahomes.
It's all hypothetical here. It's all hypothetical here. But honestly, if 4,100 yards,
That's
man,
a lot.
and all that happened, we go 10-3 and then he leaves. I don't think he'd ever be allowed back in the state.
No.
That would definitely cross into, and we've talked about this
Because
before.
you're creating a nightmare situation.
He
Yeah,
would
that's what we
not.
do.
Just have like that yin and the yang. You're like, okay, I'm a Nebraska fan, and I'm just used to the other shoe dropping all the time.
Well,
John,
I
what are
think
you
that
doing?
I think the thing is there are so many quarterbacks. Name some quarterbacks that have stayed more than 2 years.
Well, name a
last.
5-star that came to a school when they're 5-7.
Oh,
Doesn't happen.
I asked first.
Derek Williams went to Penn State back in 2005. He was number one player in the country. Penn State went like 5-7.
Hoss
Yeah.
would know the answer to that.
See
question.
what happens when you get a guy with a memory on this.
Here.
Hoss cheats. He knows too
Invited
much.
you.
2005.
Whoa, hey, time out.
What was
You're
that?
not allowed to. You're not
kidding,
allowed to
I'm
say
kidding.
that.
I didn't even hear it.
It's probably for the better. Go back and watch the tape later.
I said who invited you, but you know I'm kidding.
I'm a chartered
Wow.
member, Minnie.
I know. You were here before me.
I
You're
know.
BM.
What did you say?
Nothing.
You say BM?
Okay. What's
Great.
next? What's next?
I think next is time to go home.
Yeah,
And by home, I
It
mean
is 2 hours and 7.
everybody needs to go. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here. So
Greg's bladder's about to explode.
I'm fine. If I
I
had more
told you
beer,
he's
I'd
got
drink
the
more beer.
depends on.
I don't have the. You want to see? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's just got a mason jar under there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a desk here for me. Like, for all you know, I got a little mini urinal underneath.
Well,
me.
you can be like Jason Reeves. You know, he's said that he was listening to the podcast tonight naked, wearing only a Husker helmet.
I didn't see that. I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I
Interesting.
guess it depends on where the helmet. Never mind. All right, that is
I
it
had
for this
one of those.
episode.
Go ahead.
That's it for this episode of the
That
Five
wasn't
Heart
me
Podcast.
this time. That was
You're-
John.
You're fine. You're fine, Minnie. It's all good. It's okay. It's not your fault. I rewatched Good Will Hunting recently, and
How much you bench? 285, Chief. Your move.
it's not your fault. Don't you start with me. Not you. It's not your fault, Will. Anyway, all right, that's it for this episode of the Five Heart Podcast, and for this tremendous group of people that we've brought together. We have Minnie Hunt. We have John Dam Johnston. We have one of the OGs, Hoss Reuter. We know that on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Central, God's favorite time zone, you have a lot of entertainment options. And for some reason, you continue to choose us, and God bless you for it. We appreciate you. This is a tremendous community that we've built here, a family. And thank you for bringing your questions, bringing your comments, bringing your laughs, and your patience and tolerance for us. So thank you, all of you at the Chatterfields. We love you greatly. I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the Five Heart Podcast. And for all of us here, we remind you each and every week that Five Heart is all the heart you need. And this is going to be, we're going to do this just like I introduced y'all, clockwise. John?
Shit ass. Go Big Red.
Minnie?
Party on.
Well, you didn't sing Happy Birthday to Dylan. This was like your time
And
to sing.
happy birthday, Dylan.
By the time
I
he sees
wish
it's not
you-
even going to be his
No.
birthday anymore.
Listen. Have a happy birthday as a Husker.
Hoss.
win the damn off season. Remember, 5 toes is the amount of toes you're supposed to have.
You must have 5 toes to coach in.